Right. Guess we can get started. Uh, yeah. So I kind of found this article via one of the authors' blog, Hamel Hussein. He writes a blog on like machine learning and other posts. But I thought it was interesting because it provided like a high-level sort of view of what's happening and their experience. So anyway, we can get started. Maybe we can start with Anuraj today and go down.
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, can you hear? Yeah,
Yeah.
you can.
So basically, I didn't read I read the first section and then I was jumping around here and there, and uh, I didn't find real insights because if you have been using the LLMs even in a rudimentary way, I think you would know many of the stuffs what is happening, all the structuring the inputs and outputs. So it didn't seem really like having real insights technically to me. I don't know, but it's and I think like if you're working on this, I think many people would like find out this stuff quite fast. But it's like a good collection of their experiences. So somebody who is like just starting out, it might help them a lot. This article, but and yeah, the other parts, the strategy part was I don't know. It seemed okay-ish to me. And yeah, so those were my initial thoughts and reactions. I'll pass it on to Gregory.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Anuraj. Um, I found this article rather theoretical, and I doubt that it is even useful. The reason is, well, the first thing I wrote to myself in my notes that the most important point they are missing is that they don't show me the product that they have built using this technique. If they're really serious about it, they should show the product. Like, this is a product we build using a whole lot of LLMs and other stuff. And now we are going to tell you how we did it. This part is missing, and it's kind of bad that it is missing. The other point is that it looks like a step-by-step process. And in order to implement this step-by-step process, I have to follow the steps. I have to follow the logic, which I'm not sure that I'm going to do. And it takes time, of course. So it's quite easy imagining myself being on step 3 and reading about step 25. And it's not helpful to read about step 25 when I'm on step 3 or something. So there is a gap of perception. Another thing is I wouldn't even think about using LLMs in the product development at this stage. Maybe I am wrong, but at the same time, I believe there is a craft involved, real craft in the product development. Meaning that the more effort humans put in, the more difficult it is to replicate. And if you use off-the-shelf solutions with, like LLM models, with off-the-shelf processes, like described in this article, then your product will be very, very prone to reverse engineering. So you will save some time by applying all those new and fancy technologies, but your competitors will save even more time by just showing your product to a LLM and asking it to reverse engineer. So it kind of reduces the moat between your product and the rest of the market. Other than that, I think they're way too early with this article. It looks like they're trying to mark the territory. Like, this is something we know. This is something we are experts in. This is something you should consult with us. But again, without the real product that they have built and can show and can prove that this product delivers value to the customers and to them, it's kind of hard to believe. And on that, I will pass it on to Anand.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I thought the article was maybe not as unuseful. I thought there was a useful high-level primer on how to maybe think about going 0 to 1 into product in LLMs, and I kind of think there is still maybe not as obvious to a lot of people, especially for folks that work in industries that are adjacent to the core software development or like just the core software industry. I'm thinking of like different PLM tools, and like there are other industries where like real estate or other places where they might want to build this. I thought it might be useful from that perspective. And the kind of examples they shared was also along those. 1 second, sorry, my dogs are going. Yeah, I mean the kind of examples they shared was also kind of like adjacent to the core like the software industry itself. And I found some examples interesting, like some things that they linked interesting, like this idea of flow engineering, for example, in sort of Alpha Codium was the paper that they shared, they linked, and that seems to be like an evolution of prompt engineering with these models in that slightly thinking long term and using planning. I thought that was useful. And also the last part of the article where they were sharing some cost parameters. They mentioned something along the lines of the capability per dollar value for these models are going down. As in the cost per capability is going down, and then the sort of what they can do at the same dollar cost level is also going up. Like the amount of capabilities they have is going up for the same dollar cost for these models. I thought that was an interesting sort of operational point. I mean, the anecdote about the Bloomberg GPT, I thought was interesting, that they sort of tried to build their own model with their own data, and the GPT-4 sort of outperformed it. And I thought that was useful for me to, again, a useful data point. Yeah, I mean, overall, I thought it can be. I mean, I might just come back to this document again to sort of use it as a sort of basic best practices of the sort for dealing with LLMs, and how might one go about operationalizing them, like their information on LLM ops and how one underdeveloped LLM operations are, and in deployment and staging and all the other things that you might associate with the typical software deployment with. I thought that was interesting. How do you sort of incorporate feedback in this LLM first world? Yeah, those are my top thoughts. I can stop there and open up for other round of comments.
Yeah, nothing much to add, but a funny thought what Gregory said, that they have already assumed the game has already been played. And yeah, so it would have been really nice to see what they actually built. But this seems like something that could go in a BCG report. Just saying.
Yeah, I mean, this seems like honestly though, it seems like they are laying the foundation for some other future courses that they might offer on this website and other things. Like Jagadish said, maybe they are drawing their boundaries on their expertise. But I did link an article from one of the authors on a case study that they had written on a real estate AI assistant called Rechat. That's what kind of prompted me to find this article in the first place, as it was the Rechat real estate agent had like some structured output, and it was uh, you know front loading a lot of these agents tasks. I thought that was interesting. That might be interesting to check out. But there are any further?
The part about the team is also looks suspicious a little bit. Because the way I understand it, they basically saying you need to create a new role in your product team, which is an AI engineer. And then create a job description for this role, and then basically follow the bureaucratic procedure. Which is a bit suspicious to me because nobody really knows at this particular point what's going on with LLMs in product development. So probably what I would expect from people is to learn a lot on the job, meaning that a person who is responsible for AI in a product team or LLMs or using LLMs creatively in a product team should learn a whole lot while doing something. And typically it happens in startups, as far as I know, like you don't have too much structure in terms of organizational chart. People are attacking a problem the way they can to do more productively. So everybody learns, and only later on a startup journey, they kind of assigned rather reluctantly some more or less well-defined roles. And even then, you have to reach a certain scale before these roles become really, really structured and really important. And this scale typically is like hundreds of people or dozens of people, whatever. So, I mean, creating a role well in advance and creating a job description for this role, in my view, can be detrimental to the creative process. And my overall impression is that they kind of forget that product management is a creative pursuit. And they want to make this creative pursuit automatable, which is a failure mode, in my view. So the best products are created. They are not done by following a script. And the most valuable part is exactly in the best product is exactly the part that is not going to be described by some kind of a best practice or a script. So the whole idea of having best practice in this particular field at this particular moment is premature, I would say. in 10 years from now, you will have plenty of data and you will have best practices. But right now, what they're describing, it's not even a practice. It's some kind of a theory. References they make on some kind of research instead of practice. Like, I would rather prefer them telling that we tried something and it worked, or we tried something and repeatedly and it didn't work, not a single time. Instead of telling me read the research and in the research paper there are such and such results. So, and the last point about the teams is that you can think that you are gaining something by reducing the size of your team and inviting a lot of LLMs to replace people, but you are not. Like I was thinking, reading about a human in a loop in this particular article, that actually you need a lot of humans. You need plenty of humans, ideally, because you want to account for differences of opinions and everybody is a little bit different. So a little bit of diversity in your team is quite helpful, simply because you see the problem differently as a team member. Every team member sees the problem a little bit differently. Everybody is trying to solve the problem a little bit differently. So you account for diversity early on. But even all you have is a bunch of LLMs and one human, there's no diversity. There's just one person with all his biases. And these biases are multiplied probably by the LLMs. So it's not something I would call a best practice to reduce the number of people on your early team in favor of saving some money because you can assign some tasks to LLMs does not sound right to me.
Right. I think while as you were speaking, Kakari, one thing that occurred to me was it reminded me on why kind of I thought this might be at least useful thing to read here was I sort of learned this idea of from one of the professors that do physics-based models on the sort of idea of inner loop and outer loops. The sort of inner loops are with the physics-based models are the model is accurate, it's working as intended, it's robust, it's resilient, and so on and so forth. And the sort of outer loops are the kind of workflows and inputs and outputs the users give to those models. And at least maybe wrongly, I drew some parallels on between LLM type models with respect to the model size underneath that could form the inner loop of any workflow, and the outer loop is the sort of human workflows and human coordinations that sit on top. But yeah, I think replacing humans is maybe not quite there in terms of even for using products internally. And I think you made me think about PMing slightly differently. It seems like quite prescriptive, and I think that's fair. Any more thoughts? If not, we can adjourn 19 minutes early. Thank you very much, Anuj and Gregory. I'll see you guys next week.